Hey, this is Jingle Jared, aka the Vibe Code Cowboy. We are here at the Rebel Chateau West here in California. I am excited because we have Pooh Bear, legendary hitmaker, songwriter, all-around incredible human being on the podcast this week. I've learned more from this guy about songwriting, melody, the art of recording, the art of voice, the art of finessing a room, probably more so than anybody in the world. I've been fortunate enough in my music career to work with some of the biggest producers of all time, from T-Bone Burnett to Timbaland to working with people like Lil Wayne. And I will say, Pooh Bear is one of those people you put in the room, no matter who it is. He and I have worked together on songs for G-Eazy. We've worked with Bob Dylan. We've worked with DJ Khaled, Nicky Jam. I mean, the list goes on. And what he's done for my career has less to do with creative and more to do with the realm of philosophical. And in this conversation, you'll understand what it means to be a producer and what it means to get opportunities that when you step through the door, sometimes it's less about the talent and more about the attitude and the way that you present yourself. And I'm excited to bring you all this very incredible story and incredible episode of Rebels with my good friend Pooh Bear. Happy birthday.
Hey guys.
Hey man.
All right.
Hey.
So Pooh Bear, this is the second part. You're the only guest that's had a two-part interview. So
I'm sorry about that, guys. I apologize to everybody unconditionally.
I love it. This is like your story is epic, so it deserves two parts. So when we first started talking with you, you were a young man writing music in Atlanta, and your teacher said to you, you better have a fallback plan because people don't actually make a living doing this.
He said, quote unquote, only 1% people make it in the music business, and you're not that 1%.
Wow.
I hope we can go back to the school and visit him.
No, he ended up dying. Like, he ended up slipping right outside of the classroom, and he broke his neck. He died later. Like a couple, I wasn't at the school anymore, but it happened like a few years after I had already left the school, left Tri-Cities. But he ended up, he ended up like Final Destination, really freaky type shit.
Oh my God,
that's horrible. Well,
I wish he was here.
Well, look, your career has sort of been uncharacteristically defined by a lot of things that don't typically happen. So after you started getting a lot of success with the world of 112, and I imagine, were you like in like the Diddy world at that point? Like, what was going on? Like, what was the next thing that happened?
No, I was never really in the Diddy world. I always kind of like worked with artists that were signed to Bad Boy. Had a lot of respect for him. I never really said anything. I remember him telling me he thought I was a security guard for 112 for a while. Because I never said anything, I was quiet back then. I would say happy birthday, but I was still quiet. And then finally I wrote some songs for his group called Dream. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, they were like a female
it's four of them.
Yeah.
So I wrote some records, and then he called me and was like, "You have arrived," and I was just like, "I've arrived," and this was like 2002, and he was like, "You have arrived." I was like, "Wow, okay." I was like, Pup, I wrote songs with 112 back like when I was 17, 16 years old. He was like, "Oh, I remember." He said, "I thought you were secure. I thought you were their security."
I
will say that is something that Jared and I have never been confused for. Security guards, bodyguards.
Pooh and I are like polar opposites. It's amazing how long we've been friends, but like I will tell everybody who doesn't ask how great I am. I'll tell people what I do. I'll be like, "Hey, I'm Jingle Jared." Like, I'll tell people who like have nothing to do with anything. But Pooh, everywhere we go, is very unassuming, and I've realized, just from the lessons I've learned from different people, that like by him not saying things, it's also makes the clients and the people we work with extremely, afraid of him, and also they earn into his respect. Like, people will go up to me like, "Oh, Despacito is my favorite song." And you're like, "Oh, thank you," but I would be like, "More, give me more." Like, But
yeah.
so
Nobody
I
really
know
cares.
that the entire, and that's what Pooh Bear always says to me. He's like, no one cares. Like whenever I introduce him in meetings, like it's the guy who wrote this.
In reality, in real life, nobody really cares about anything. They kind of just want to go home and, you know what I mean, do what they really want to do. When you really think about it, in the brutal honesty, harsh reality of everything, nobody really cares. Sad enough.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But so just to tell us what happens, like as quickly as you can, between that era and then sort of the dark period where things weren't jamming as well as you would like them.
Oh yeah, I would say from that point. So we could go from there. From 2002. That was after. That was post. Peaches and Cream. I just did Peaches and Cream, and from there it was Dance with Me. But then after that, it was like I kind of ended up in Miami meeting two producers named Dre and Vidal. They ended up working out of Philadelphia and produced artists like Jill Scott, Music Soul Child, and they created neo soul, that sound Dre and Vidal did. And so they ended up, flying me up there to Philly, and I worked, and it was still, it was slow. It was kind of slow. I was just building and growing and building relationships, and ended up working with Glenn Lewis and Jill Scott, and she ended up leaving me singing on some stuff. And then from there, to go a little bit, to skip ahead to Usher, with the album Confessions, that was another huge turning point in my career. With Dre and Vidal and Ryan Toby, and we did those records with Usher.
That's like a diamond album, right? That's a diamond record.
It was double diamond. So we did like 24 million albums on that, worldwide.
What songs were on that record? Can you just give me like a couple?
Caught Up was on there.
Yeah, Caught Up is the one that we did. Superstar. Come Follow Me, and then there was the record. Then there was Yeah, which was the first single. Let It Burn.
God.
Let It Burn.
Wait, did you write on Yeah?
Confessions. I did not write on Yeah.
Okay.
No. I did.
Let It Burn?
We did Caught Up, Superstar, and Come Follow Me. Those were the three that we did. But the thing was, we did those records about him and Chili when they were together, and it took 2 years to do that album. So by the time the album came out, halfway through the recording, they had split up, and I was like, oh no, our music's not gonna make it anymore. They're not even together. But it ended up making it, and that was a turning point. Caught Up ended up being like the 5th single, and it still, went like, I want to say went top 20 on the Hot 100, top 15 on the Hot 100, which was rare for an album to, have 5 singles that really, did that much. So then from there, I ended up going to Miami, man, and that's when I ended up working with Scott Storch.
Scott Storch.
Yeah, so and mind you, I was engaged. At this time I was engaged, and I was, in a relationship for a while, and we had vowed to kind of we were being abstinent, just to be honest, until we got married. And I was able to do that for 2 years, just being honest. And I think she did it the entire time. I mean, wow. She really did it. But I moved to South Beach, to Miami, so it was just hard. I didn't know what it was really like to live there. But then working with Scott Storch, who at that time was the biggest producer in the world, and working with him and writing, and and from that point, really having so much loyalty and being loyal to a fault, and where I was promised in contracts, certain amount of things and certain amount of really salary in order, for me to stop working with other producers. Yeah. I would do that if I know that I'm gonna be able to cover, my overhead, my bills, my mom's house, my properties. And so we came up with a deal, and then ultimately he just, he never kept that end of the deal. And, as things were, spiraling slowly down.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed around, even until they took everything. I watched them take everything he had.
That's like an infamous story. Like, I mean, it's sort of public knowledge now that like that's like one of the biggest flameouts from the highest high from him to like the lowest low. Like, literally losing everything.
I was there. I was there, and I mean, it was just a lot of learning experiences, and for me, I was blessed to have written a few hit songs, so I had some royalties still coming twice a year, but it was still a time in my life where, I lost the property, and I was like, I was like 20. I was like 27 years old. I was 27 years old. Lost the property, and I had to end up starting over. You know what I mean? And came to LA and was like sleeping in studios, and just starting my life, starting over. And I refused to go back to Atlanta and be like comfortable. I wanted to force myself to be uncomfortable so I could just work and work as hard as I possibly could to get myself out of the predicament that I was in. And that was like, for me, just being able to have some success and make some money and still, have, like I said, I would still get royalties twice a year. But then it was on top of this, guys, somebody sues and says, because of a song, Caught Up, this girl that we never met says that we stole it from her. And so in America, if somebody, they sue you, you have to, counter sue. You got to get an attorney. And so they froze the publishing company at the time, froze my royalties for 2 years. And it never even went to trial. The judge was like, the only similarities in these songs are this title. It's the same title, and there's 800 other Caught Ups copyrighted in DC. And so, and
the crazy thing about
this girl was notorious for this.
Yeah,
and she did it to Wyclef, she did it to us, she did it to a couple people, but it was like all during the same time. So it was like, man, I'm not really I was at the bottom again. I was at the bottom, and as a kid, I was homeless, and it was like, now it's like, all right, I had an opportunity where I could have went home to Atlanta with my mom to a house that I had, paid for, but then it was like, no, I want to be uncomfortable. I want to grind. I want to I'm gonna be homeless, sleep in different places, and it wasn't to where I was sleeping outside. It wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying? But it was just a studio, a friend's couch.
Dude, and Pooh, when you and I worked in that studio where we wrote, we just getting started, you pointed to the couch and you were like, when Pooh walks into a studio in LA, that's like, it's a thing where like everyone's like, oh, Pooh's here, the room's got to be right, the cookies got to be delivered, like everything. But Pooh, we went to the studio, Electric Field, and he pointed, he goes, Jared, I used to like sleep on that couch because I would stay late at the session and just to you keep insane hours, like you never stop working.
No, it's like 20, 19 hours, 20 hours, and I would work, and then everybody would leave, and I would just stay in there and sleep and get up and then go over to my friends and take a shower, and and I had a couple, Ali was somebody who was, was there, and then I ended up going to Vegas from there, going to Vegas and really working and turning. And I had an idea. I was like, I don't want to make Vegas a place where, where some hit songs can come out of here and people can come here not just to gamble and have fun, but to actually party and be able to work and record. And we did that with Future Music. We created a label, and that's where I created a girls group named Edamame, and that I kind of wanted to do. And put the girls group together, and the lead singer, her name was Ashley Joy, and that's ended up being my wife and the mother of my children.
Nice.
And another amazing writer.
And another amazing writer, and she's and she's a singer. She's an amazing singer. So Vegas came. Had the girls group Edamame there on the radio, and the Chris Brown record, I Can Transform You, featuring Lil Wayne. Back when nobody wanted to work with Chris Brown because he got into that altercation with Rihanna. I worked with him. And then that was done. And then also She Ain't You, and a couple of other records done in Vegas at the studio, to where it was like, okay, cool. We got some really cool things happening out of Vegas. And then that's when Little Twist came by way of Cal Massey. Cal Massey from In the House, with Raven Simone. He invited Little Twist over. I heard Little Twist's voice, and I was like, man, your voice is dope. And I was like, the songs that he was playing me, I was like, man, they could just be better wordplay and better lyrics. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna write you a song for your birthday, So I wrote him a song called Contact. And he was playing it, and he was listening to my music, because I just put out a EP called Beats to Break Up To. It was an all breakup, a whole EP about breaking up. And then from there, he was like, you know what, man? He said, I'm gonna invite Justin Bieber over here. So he calls Justin, and Justin flies in from LA to Vegas and hangs out and stays the house for like 24 hours. We didn't leave the house for 24 hours. And it was just hanging out and not even really listening to music, but just hanging out and being like, being silly, man, and really ultimately just doing nothing really. And then from there, he Twist sent him some of my music, and then like a few days later, I get a call from Justin, calls me, and he's like, hey, could you flip this record, this Craig David record called Fill Me In? Can you flip it? Take the chords and make a new song. And I went in the studio and we did it I did it with the audibles in like 35 minutes and sent it to him. And he was like, can you come to Boston? And then that was it. He flew me to Boston, and he was on tour, on the Believe tour. And I stayed, he kind of like from there, we cut that record in Boston, and I stayed with him on the road for about 13 months, for about a year and a month. We wrote journals and traveled around the world and recorded. We wrote parts of journals in Bali and Bangkok, and all around the world. And that it's just crazy, the journey that I kind of went through to end up in Vegas, a random place in Vegas, to like everything in my life, like all the ups, the downs, and the from the tornadoes to hitting the bottom in Miami and having to start over. Everything led up to me being at this place in Vegas, and
right
with a
place,
guy,
right time.
Yeah, man. With a guy named Jamal, Jamal Rashid, my buddy. He was the person who I actually was doing the music label with, and just ended up, from him being through Ali. It's just crazy, like, so, and it's the way everything was connected. It just, I feel like every time something negative would happen, it just seemed like something really positive and great would come out of a negative situation, man. And that's I kind of like, now I kind of look at everything like that, even right now with this coronavirus, so kind of looking at like, wow, what all the great things that could possibly come from this negative situation.
Well, dude, it's crazy. So you said a few things there. One is, for those who don't believe it or know it, I've been with Pooh Bear where he writes a song in under 30 minutes. And he always says to me, Jared, if it doesn't happen immediately, it's really not happening. And like, I wish that like the camera was rolling on every time I wrote with you, because his brain will be like, write it literally syllable by syllable. And like, I was dumb enough to think that I could engineer for Pooh Bear when we used to write. And he'd be like, back, a baby hair, a tiny, and I was like, what's he talking about? But like after we wrote a few songs together, I stopped engineering. I was like, you know what? That's the hot seat. I'll just play the guitar chords and like let someone else do it. But Pooh can like, he can go like this, and if you're not keeping up with him like that, it could be a little scary. You know, if you're not his engineer, but his engineer Sasha's a genius. He's like moves at the speed of. They have a language of their own. But the interesting thing,
we can't even call him an engineer anymore. He was an engineer.
Yeah, he's co-writing everything.
He's produced, now, man.
Zach Brown, and he's got cuts on the new Bieber album. But when I've seen him engineer, like, unbelievable. Like
that's telepathy. That's telepathy right there.
Telepathy.
That's like, you know.
And but the interesting thing is that Pooh Bear, you know, once he was on that track with Bieber, the interesting thing is that record, Journals, though, is many people's favorite, but it didn't do as well as the one that would come, right? So did you get met with resistance?
It went platinum. I mean, when we say do as well, it didn't do as well as maybe, you know, they would have expected. And that was a dark time for Justin. You know, that was a time when the media was really tearing him down, and you know, he was in a sense like the way they kind of do Donald Trump right now. It was like they were sensationalizing a Justin Bieber story every day back then, and you know, so those were hard times, and they couldn't promote that album. They couldn't really they didn't market it, and it was done, you know, it was intentionally done to save his life, and you know what I mean, to really protect him from himself. And it still ended up selling, you know, over 1 million records for it.
Wow.
But at the same time, you know, it was that definitely Purpose, the next album that came out after that, we ended up, you know, doing 14 million, you know, worldwide on Purpose. So,
and that's the album that really turned him, like, look, he was already a star. But that turned him into like Michael Jackson. So like when I met Pooh, he was on that, riding that wave, and you and I, you know, we met in the bar, and I was like, there's no way that after, you know, I Googled Pooh, that Pooh's going to want to, you know, slum it in the jingle world. But, you know, it's amazing because the album was out, all those songs, and you started coming to the studio, and you're like, hey, you know, I guess because you had that experience of, you know, having, you know, a career where, you know, it's hits driven, but we just created this weird lane where, you know, UFC, pro bull riding, playing a banjo, and all these things it was like almost a hobby for you. But we had like a 3-4 year run where we were doing brand projects, and then it all kind of culminated with our fake band, Bear and a Banjo.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. That's something that I miss doing. We should probably do another Bear, like another album, another Bear.
I'm ready, man. I want to do season 2. When this TV show idea gets fired up, we should do a whole new record around it. And I always said, you know, for me, it was, you know, it's rare to be able to actually verbalize what you would want your perfect record to look like, and then actually be able to be part of it. Because all I ever wanted to do was pick up an acoustic guitar or a banjo and make simple noises, and then like your accompaniment on it. I listened to it. I mean, and even the Zach Brown remix that we did, like it just sounds so like what I like. It's all the parts of, you know, soul music and blues and folk music, but also all the parts of like Zeppelin and the White Stripes and all these different things that are, you know, that grew out of, you know, that kind of folk music. I just love it.
Yeah, it turned out really great, man. I'm just glad we didn't, you know, I'm glad we did it the way we did it, and, you know, treated it like, you know, the way I started off doing music was just pure like hobby, like the love of like, you know, see what it sounds like at the end of it. Like, what is it gonna sound like at the end of it? And it turned into a career. And then doing that project with you, it was fun again. It was fun again, and it wasn't money driven. You know, it was like literally, like an exit for me, or a fantasy world that I could live in and be like, wow, all right, I'm this character now, and I'm, you know, and I can sing these type of records, and nobody could judge me, and I don't feel insecure about it because I'm not being serious, you know. So it was cool. So it was refreshing to be able to do that, and now I'm at a place where we could do something like that in like 10 days. You know what I'm saying? We could do an album in 10 days. Yeah, of course we could.
When you guys get back together, You guys get back to the studio. I got some tunes. Got some
Oh yeah. All right.
Well, we got to work with Bob Dylan, so we'll go from Dylan to Zach.
To Zachariah.
Definitely.
Pooh, you were right before COVID. Give us the catch up. So you were on tour with Zach. What's next? Tell us what's, because Zach Brown brought Pooh out on tour. He was performing every night, and then the shit hit the fan.
It was a 5-city tour. It was a 5-city tour. The fifth night, I just finally had an amazing time. I decided not to use in-ears. You know, everybody was forcing me to use in-ears. And then Zach was like, we're probably not going to be back out on the road for 2 years. And I was like, whoa. So from there, you know, I went into, you know, I had already Zach had already just sold me like 16.3 acres of his land for lake for property for my mom. So I was just thinking, you know, Zach went into farming mode. He went and started farming and planting. He was like, I started ordering dry foods and just kind of preparing. I looked at it like this was a fire drill. And it's like, all right, I kind of don't want my family to be like where we live is like, you could just see our house from like every angle and we're just kind of sitting there. And in my mind, I was going straight to the movies, like when, you know, they close the grocery stores down and they're going to come, people are going to be coming, trying to come and take your food and break. So in my mind, I was like, all right, this one place I don't want to be is LA. If everything shuts down and people can't get food and money stops circulating and it's going to be crazy here. And I was like, I'm just going to go to Atlanta. Then I was like, you know what, even better than that, I'm going to go to the Bahamas. And I'm going to get stem cells for me and my dad and my mom and my wife and my mother-in-law and my mother-in-law's fiance to boost everybody's immune system to fight this virus. And my father's 78 years old just to help with his joints and everything. So we went to the Bahamas. We went to Atlanta for 2 days. My mom was in the hospital. They wouldn't let, they stopped visitation altogether. So we just went ahead and went to the Bahamas and was just waiting for my mom to get out to be able to send my plane back to pick her up so she can come and get her stem cells done. They never let her out the hospital. So we ended up staying in the Bahamas for like basically 3 weeks, man. And I just remember when we were about to leave, you know, that week, I'm like, yep, we're going to be leaving on Friday. We're leaving on Friday. Every day, the FBO was like, cool, every day. And then, like, the day of that we're supposed to leave on Friday at 3 p.m., we get a letter saying my pilots cannot fly in and get off the private jet and walk 10 steps to get on my private plane because the virus is airborne. And I'm like, so they're like, the only way you guys can leave is you have to charter another plane. That plane has to come in and land. Those pilots cannot get off the plane. You and your family have to get on the plane, and then you guys just take off and leave. That's the only way. And I'm like, and you got to leave your airplane here. So I ended up having to do that, you know, having to book a whole nother jet. They shut the borders down 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, 3 o'clock. And they were like, oh, yeah, the borders closed at 5 p.m. And I'm like, why did you guys tell us every day that it was okay? And that my pilots communicate with you every day, you know, just reconfirming. And then 2 hours before, no, they're like, no, they're not letting your pilots fly in. So we had to fly, you know, I did book a jet, then we went to LA. My mom was at the hospital finally, went to Vegas, picked up some herbs for my mom and went to Atlanta, and we hunkered down in Atlanta for 2 months.
Damn. And by the way, that was the last time we spoke to you. It was March 31st. And now it's like, I couldn't believe it. It's May something
wow.
now. I don't even know what today is. So we have been, to put things in perspective, so March, April, May, it's been 3 months
Unbelievable.
since we've all been in hunker down mode, but now you're back. And are you back in
LA.
the studio? Are you writing right now? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, the good thing is, like, I kept writing. I was working in the studio in the Bahamas. I wrote a couple of really great big records. And then I was able to be in a studio in Atlanta and Buckhead, working and writing. Now I'm back in LA. I haven't been to the studio, but I'm gonna go tomorrow, and just to stay, man. I gotta keep writing and keep writing, and I got a lot of theories on what's going on right now. So
and people are freaking out, but that's like, look, Pooh, as long as I've known you, every time he goes, hey man, let me just play you something. It always is like 2 months before, like the biggest thing ever. He played me a Despacito, the demo with his voice on it before it came out. You played me the Ed Sheeran one, I Don't Care, when we were working on Bear and a Banjo. So, and I'm listening to it, and Brian, who used to work for my old company with me, heard it, and he goes, dude, he's like, we left the thing. He goes, does Pooh often just play you like these songs before? I was like, yeah, but it's not like Pooh doesn't play like a whole record like the way most artists are like, yo, listen to my whole record. He'll play me a song, and that's the song. Like, that's the song you'll hear nonstop in your car for like a year. And I think I'm the one, and these other ones that you play me, and the whole story is about like how you were like called in on. Just tell us this last thing about how quickly Despacito came together, because that is my favorite story.
That was the quickest turnaround I've ever been a part of in my whole career. That was a call first from Justin. I'm saying he loved this record. I want to flip this record. I want to flip this record. Then Scooter Braun hit me. It was like, hey, Justin wants to flip it, but he wants to do it in Spanish. Can you write it in English? And then I wrote it in English. And I remember that was on April 10th, because it was my 1 year anniversary. Yeah, it was 1 year. And we were, and my wife was pregnant, and I took her on a helicopter to San Diego for dinner, and then we came back that night and went in the record plant at midnight, and I had to Google and see what they were talking about, and I don't know what's this going on, and I kind of don't really want to do this, but I'm gonna knock it out, and I'm gonna try to make as much sense out of this in English as possible. and did it, probably did it like honestly probably like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, the verse. And then it came out probably and then I know Justin FaceTimed me, and he was, he had tears coming down his face. Man, so I knew it was really special, you know what I mean? And from there, I think he cut it immediately, and he cut it. He was in Bogota. He cut it in Colombia, and then it came out. I want to say it came out 4 days later or something like that.
It was quick. The whole thing was like the way you told me, hey, I'm doing this thing, and then like next thing I know, it's on every station, and like billions of streams, and like that really kind of, again, like Bieber's had so many phases to what he's done, and then he kind of was in between album cycles, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm the one. It was like that was the smash same time after smash.
Yeah, that record we had so I'm the One debuted at #1, and then I remember Despacito, the original was like number 49 on the Hot 100. Then we did the remix, and it came out on a Friday, and it jumped from 49 to number 9 on the Hot 100 in 1 week. And then from there it went to number 2, and I'm the One that debuted #1. And then I'm the One only stayed #1 for 1 week because Despacito remix made I'm the One to number 2, and we switched places with ourselves, and that was like, and then that was and I was in between albums. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, your old teacher, rest in peace. He was wrong, but I think that I love that. By the way,
I just want to make sure everybody drinks X Factor. I'm really proud to be.
I love it.
Be a part owner of this company. I'm really, really proud of this, and it's important, man. It's really life changing. It has hydrogen in it, so it means it's gonna help you to heal faster. It helps to engage enzymes and activate antioxidants.
I love that. By the way, I love all his businesses. He has Black Star Burger. He has the Black Star Studio. He has the water company. Pooh's into all this amazing stuff. And the one thing that I've learned from Pooh Bear.
3D Live. 3D
yes.
Live.
The
3D Live, we're coming.
The big thing that I've learned from Pooh Bear, if I learned one lesson from every person, is it's not over, the story, unless you say it's over. And there's been many times in my career where I thought, man, that's not as bad as like when Pooh told me he lost his house in a tornado or slept on a couch or and the story's not over till you say it's over. That's really the simple thing.
Never.
Love it.
Never, Jared. Never over, man. And it's just it's just starting to get weird. The sad part is the state that we're in is like, for us, we would call this punishment, being on punishment, you know, like you can't go outside, you're grounded, right? And then for our kids now, for our kids are gonna grow up, this is gonna be a state of reality. This is gonna be normal, like not to really go out that much, you know what I'm saying? And just, you know, for me, it hurts to see, like, I want my kids to really experience life the way I just recently started experiencing it. And, you know, nonetheless, they're too young to really remember this. So it will be their new state of reality. But just for me thinking about it, I just feel bad. I just want them to be able to experience life the way it was, you know, pre-COVID. You know?
My 15-year-old and my 13-year-old, I can tell it's really affected them a lot. Like they're really confused about it. But my little ones are like your kids' age, and they're just like flocking around the house together, not knowing what's up. But this new normal is not normal because I was picking up food today, and I was thinking people can't tell if I'm smiling or frowning under my thing.
Nope.
And I'm a people pleaser, so I was like, man, someone's gonna have to invent masks with lights on it that like smiles or frowns, so people know if you're upset. Because it's all in your eyes now. That's the crazy thing. Like, I was trying to like be like, I actually went out of my way to over tip on paper because they couldn't see the smile. Like, it's so strange.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I've been doing. Like when I go to the grocery store, like, I just see the workers. Or like when I first walk in, I see the young lady or young man, and they're disinfecting all the stroller, the things that you push, the buckets, the baskets that you push, the shopping carts. I don't know why I just went back to like the 1930s or something. That shit. The buckets,
baskets with the wheels. What?
Yeah, those wheels in it. No, but like for those people, like I know that they're already taking a pay cut already just because of what's going on. So those are the people that, like, when I walk in, I see that, I give them $100. I see, like, when I'm checking out, and the guy the kid or the guy that's bagging my food up, you know, and the person who's ringing me up, I'll give them $100. I give them $100. And for me, like, I just know, like, it makes me feel amazing just to know, like, you know what? That was maybe something that they wouldn't have made today, that maybe they could get some food or whatever it is that they need. I just hope that it just made their day, you know? So it's like it's been a time like this where I haven't really been able, like, besides giving out, you know, besides burgers and trying to give burger giveaways, you know, at Black Star on certain days when we could be open. You know, that's a little bit that we could do, I can do. Besides, I donated to like Best Buddies. You know, I'm a part of the Best Buddy program now, and that's pretty cool. But it's just, you know, this situation is definitely crazy because of that. It has anything that you do for 30 days is a program, and now we're in. You know, we just got extended in LA till July. So that becomes anything that's 6 months is a lifestyle. So now it's really about to be a reality, and I think a lot of businesses. I just think everything's going to be different. I mean, you know, unfortunately,
you and I think the same. I not to get too grim here, but the world's just going to be different. It's a reshuffling of the deck. But you know, this is I did this master class thing, and you know, this occupational therapy because you know I was supposed to be doing a little bit of stuff at NYU this semester, and this ended up becoming my coursework contribution. So I just wanted to thank you for telling your story on here. I think that anyone who listens to this is going to understand more about you and more about what it takes to, you know, whether they're a writer, an entrepreneur, a restaurateur, or just a
whatever
human
it
being,
is.
you know,
Yeah,
just
whatever.
to like
Yep.
how you keep going. And, you know, before we go, I'll let Zach weigh in as my occupational therapist. So what do you think? Is this the next career for me, doing what Pooh does?
You could easily do this. You're already kind of doing it, you know, writing songs. You could get it. I've seen you produce. You're great. You know, you work with some great bands. And what I love most about the story, Pooh, was hearing how you got somewhere you thought, oh, now I'm here. I've made it. And then like very quickly it was taken away from you. I think anyone
never make it.
You never really
make it.
And a lot of
That's
people in
my theory.
entertainment think I'm just going to swoop in, get the bag, and live forever. And that's not how
No, it doesn't work like that. No way. No. It's just a blessing to still be able to, most people learn that lesson and then they just learn it and end up having to really get a real job, you know, after being and having a lot of money. So it's just a blessing to be able to go through that stuff and be able to see the bottom. I mean, and start off, you know, really poor with my mom and my brother. That really helped me a lot, man. Just helped, like not having anything helped me just really appreciate. And of course, you kind of lose your mind when you first start making a little money because you want everything that you never had growing up. But then, you know, that's where the blessing comes in, where, you know, if you do what most people do from my culture, is just spend a lot of money, being able to do it again and learn from it and be able to say, okay, this time I'm going to do this and I'm going to invest in this. And I'm going to so it's just a blessing to be able to have a second and, you know, third chance at making better decisions. You know, it's just not normal.
Well, I love it, man. You are one of the most magical people I've ever met, and you've changed my life. So I'm hoping somebody will listen to this and feel like they'll take away some great lessons here. We really appreciate you being on the show, and let's do Bear and Banjo Part 2. I'm going to hit you offline.
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm down.
Happy birthday.
Nice meeting you. All right, Zach. Happy birthday,
Nice meeting you, man. Happy birthday.
Yes, sir. All right, Jared.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Okay, that was Pooh Bear. I'm sure, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who had their hair blown back not knowing a lot of his story and how this person has been in the music business since he was 13 years old, writing songs like Peaches and Cream, working in the R&B space, working with Usher, working with 3-6 Mafia. It's unbelievable, the storied career he's had. And by the way, Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, Dan and Shay, they're just one part of it. And obviously I was lucky enough to be a part of it as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please share. Please give it a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever else you find your podcasts. And like and subscribe on YouTube, please. And join us next week for more episodes of Rebels, brought to you by Audio Up and Rebel Audio. Rebel Audio is the first ever podcast operating system for everyday creators. If you are thinking of starting a podcast, but you've been too intimidated with the steps to get there, check out rebelaudio.ai. You won't be disappointed. It is the first ever AI-powered agentic podcast operating system. You go to www.rebelaudio.ai and see what all the fuss is about. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Yeehaw and amen. Woo!